Hey everybody, Moo here. Today we're going to be taking a look at Remy SL3. I did, in fact, fix my overlay. Thank you for noticing. I appreciate it very much. 5 to 4 and a coin booster are enabled as always. And if you recall my leaks video, his skill text went something like so. Random effect, so random, we don't even know what it does. Well, now we know what it does because we played him quite a bit. So, let me tell you that the filet mignon is not always the best option in this rat's restaurant. In fact, it is the weakest of the three by far. And this is primarily at SL3. I don't think this is going to continue up to SL6, but that remains to be seen. Anyways, why is this the weakest of the three variations? Generally speaking, with burst type Tsum, you want those. They give you a nice coin booster because they generally hit for a fair amount. They also produce bubbles, but in his particular case, because the other two variations are really strong, significantly stronger than the burst variation, and they both require you to constantly make chains, getting a burst variation randomly while you're cycling through multiple screens will often result in you having gaps on screen because you're not expecting it. When you're in that flow, you're making chains, everything is cycling perfectly. Boom! You get the explosive variation and it now hits for in the teens. It's terrible. It's an absolute flow killer. Other than that, the only time it's actually good is if you get it right as fever time expires and your screen is perfectly stacked, no gaps, nothing. Then it's going to hit in the high 20s and produce that bubble, so you're going to get into the fever time again right away. But that almost never happens like that. Generally, the way it happens is you just got the soup, which is probably the best variation. You're making lots of 10 chains. Then you're expecting not to get the filet mignon. That's when you get the filet mignon, and it ends up hitting for like 12, and it does nothing. So, absolute flow killer. Let's move on to the soup, since I did mention that this is probably the best variation, because essentially what happens is you get two things. One, you get three types of Tsum on screen if you're using the 5 to 4. If you're not using the 5 to 4, you'll get 4 types of Tsum on screen. And the Tsum, which is the Remy's, counts for the full amount towards the next skill. So, because I am using the 5 to 4, that generally means I can almost always make 2 10 chains with the Remy's on screen since there's only 3 types of Tsum. And not only do I get 2 attempts at time bubbles as a result, I also instantly recharge the skill again and I can use it immediately when it expires. So the soup has tremendous value in that you can get the time bubbles and you can spam the long 10 chains, which, you know, is kind of ideal for those time bubbles, and instantly recharge the ability. So very, very good. Close second, and actually I prefer this one more than the soup, even though the soup probably gives you a little bit more value. You get a mix of 2 types of Tsum. You get an abundance of Remy's. However, with this variation, he probably only gets about a quarter of his value towards recharging the next ability. So what you want to do is actually aim for the other Tsum, make the 3 or 4 chains, and then if you don't have too many of those left or any that you can connect, then you make 10 or 11 chains with the Remy's, pop the bubbles, and hopefully cycle the screen. I like this a little bit more because if you don't get enough of the other Tsum, you just make 2 10 chains with the Remy's, pop the bubble, and then usually you'll get a few spawning in the right spot. So right as the clock or for the magical time is about to expire, you make 2 3 chains with the other Tsum, and generally that's when fever time also expires. I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, but anyways, those 2 explosions will generally get you back into fever time and give you an additional 2 chances at those time bubbles. It's a little bit more difficult to really make use of that skill, and as a result, I think the soup is going to give you the best value, but it's a close second, and I prefer this one. So those are the 3 variations. I hope that makes sense. I know I was kind of rambling a little bit because I'm still a little bit salty about that filet mignon. Come on, dude. Anyways, I'm hoping that's going to rectify itself at SL6, but if you have any questions or you require clarification on anything that I just said, make sure to leave it all in the comment section below. And as always, thank you so much for your likes, your subs, and your viewership. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out. Didn't register my last draw. Oh! Anyways, Remy is quite good. He just feels very incomplete at SL3 because the filet mignon, which is usually the best thing at a restaurant, just really messes with the flow of the game for him. The other two abilities, as you saw, the soup and the chicken or the lamb or whatever that was, those all revolve around making change. So you're making change, you're constantly cycling through the screens, you're popping bubbles to expedite the entire process, and boom, you get a filet mignon that just ruins everything because it just kind of hits for very little, like in the 20s, if that, because as you're going through the whole motion of making chains and stuff, generally speaking, you don't always have perfectly stacked Tsum on screen. So when you get that stupid dish, it hits for less than it's supposed to. The only time it's actually worth it is if it appears immediately after you exit Fever Time and everything is perfectly stacked and it gets you right back into Fever Time. But hopefully all of this will be resolved at SL6. We'll have to wait and see. Anyways. Okay, well, you know, the score is not bad. 5.3 million. We didn't get much of a coin multiplier, you know, 2.5k after the booster was applied, so whatever. We're going to have to wait and see what the SL6 performance is like. I anticipate it's going to be at least twice as good as what it is now. But stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Peace out. See you guys next time.